Syrian air defense has responded to new Israeli raids near the capital Damascus. The Israeli military confirms it's attacked 12 targets in Syria, including both Syrian and Iranian facilities.
The IDF is striking numerous Syrian and Iranian military targets in Syria in response to Iranian aggression. More to follow.
Israel says the raid was in retaliation for its fighter jet being downed by the Syrian military. The jet crashed in northern Israel, with the pilots managing to eject. However, Damascus says that its air defenses hit the plane in response to a previous attack by Israeli forces. The perspectives of Syria and Israel on the situation differ in certain respects.
This morning, the Syrian Army Command issued a statement confirming that Syrian aerial defenses intercepted Israeli fighter jets that were carrying out an airstrike on a location in central parts of the country. And then later on, Sana news agency, the state news agency, said that Israel carried out subsequent airstrikes on locations west and south of the Syrian capital, Damascus, and also said that aerial defenses from the Syrian army have been intercepting these attacks. According to my sources, by 9:30 local timing, all airstrikes stopped. We can also confirm that the sites that were targeted in the earlier attack that took place on dawn today is the T4 air base in central Syria, in the deserts of central Syria near Palmyra. My military sources are saying that there has been no casualties, only 3 wounded soldiers in this dawn's attack, but there is no official confirmation so far. And the positions that were hit today in the subsequent attacks are in the Mas area west of Damascus and in Kiswe area south of Damascus. Kiswe has been hit before by Israeli airstrikes earlier this year, and back then Israel said that it hit what it believed to be a gathering of Iranian advisors in the command building of the Syrian Army's 1st Armored Division.
Well, it's a play in 3 acts. It all started with an Iranian drone, a remotely piloted vehicle, which entered Israel proper. We don't know yet whether for surveillance or attack, and it was shot down by an Israeli armed Apache helicopter. Now, following that particular incident, the Israeli Air Force has retaliated against the launcher of this particular drone, hitting the command and control vehicle and perhaps the launcher itself. And during this attack, one of the Israeli F-16s was either hit by Syrian ground defenses, or the pilots got the impression that they are about to be hit and bailed out. So Israel has lost 1 F-16, and following that, Israel has again retaliated, hitting the 12 targets, several of them being Iranian and several Syrian. This is the most serious incident between Israel and Syria, and definitely between Israel and Iran in many years. Perhaps in 10 or 15 years, we have not seen the like of it.
Let's cross live to Jerusalem now to discuss this with Max Blumenthal, author and senior editor at TheRealNews.com. Mr. Blumenthal, welcome to the programme. It's good to see you. You're in Jerusalem right now. Can you tell us what the situation is like there, what the feeling is in the city, and have you heard anything? Have you felt anything?
Yeah, right now in Tel Aviv, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Avigdor Lieberman are meeting with Army Chief of Staff Gadi Eisenkot and the entire Army Command at the Defense Ministry. This meeting has been going on since the morning. No one has come out. Netanyahu has muzzled his cabinet ministers, and at the same time it's been reported that Netanyahu has gotten on the phone with his American and Russian counterparts in an attempt to de-escalate the situation. Netanyahu seems to have every intention of not escalating, which is very significant for a number of reasons. And when he muzzles his cabinet ministers, that usually means that he doesn't want anything to come out in the Israeli press, which could trigger further escalation. This is being covered constantly by the Israeli news, and it's all the country is talking about right now.
How serious is this incident, in your opinion?
It's a dramatic incident for a number of reasons. First of all, this is the first Israeli plane that Syria has downed since 1982. Second of all, Israel is unable to escalate for a number of reasons. Benjamin Netanyahu was in the opposition when the Israeli government attacked southern Lebanon and lost to Hezbollah in 2006, and he fears another escalation in which Hezbollah is substantially stronger after the experience it's gained on the Syrian battlefield, and the Syrian army has gained advanced Russian air defenses, the S-200, for example, which appears to have downed this F-16. So Israel is in a tight bind here, and they have blamed this entire incident on Iran and consider it an attack on Israeli sovereignty, which is actually, frankly, bizarre, because the Israeli military struck 12 targets inside Syria, not Israel, and the Golan Heights is considered under international law Syrian territory.
Iranian targets were also hit in this incident. What kind of response, if any, do you expect from Tehran?
You know, it's unclear to me if Iran is really calling the shots here. I mean, this appears to be the Syrian government, after losing something like 100 soldiers, either from its own regulars or a allied militia, to American airstrikes, has decided that it's had enough with these infringements on its sovereignty and that it will strike back. It appears to be striking back with advanced Russian anti-aircraft missiles. And another significant instance here, or angle here, is that Israel has had to be very precise in responding to what it calls an Iranian drone, because Russian military assets are honeycombed across Syrian air bases, the very air bases Israel attacks, and Israel's afraid to strike any Russian targets. So again, this is a difficult moment for Benjamin Netanyahu, and we also have to keep in mind the domestic circumstances. Netanyahu is facing police recommendations for his own indictment for corruption charges. There are going to be massive protests against Netanyahu tonight in Tel Aviv, and many of those protesters are insisting, somewhat conspiratorially, that Netanyahu is seeking an escalation to distract from his own corruption problems and domestic plight.
We're already seeing an escalating situation in the north of Syria. How high do you think is the risk of further escalation in southern Syria? I mean, do you expect further attacks to happen?
I mean, we saw last year a lot of action in southern Syria around Kalamoun. There was pretty strong evidence that Syrian rebel insurgents connected to al-Qaeda were actually coordinating attacks with Israel, where they would fire a mortar into the Golan Heights or into Israeli territory to give Israel the pretext to attack the Syrian army. But I think we're going to have to reevaluate our entire analysis of what happens along the Syrian and Israeli border, because the fact that Syria has demonstrated deterrent capacity against Israeli jets today and its willingness to take them down, and because of the fact that Netanyahu is demonstrating his lack of interest in escalating.